Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today, I'm going to teach you guys how to get the best, most immersive VR experience. And it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. You don't need a headset yet. I'm going to tell you which one is best for you. And we're going to go all the way to how do you get the best wireless streaming setup? What accessories do you want to pick up for maximum immersion? And everything else in between. So there's going to be plenty of information. It's been a while since I've done a guide video. So if you guys enjoy this or you find it at all helpful, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Now, there's going to be a bunch of different topics. You could skip ahead to whatever you want. It's going to be labeled out if you're a PlayStation VR 2 guy, if you're a Quester, PCVR, whatever the case may be. There are, of course, labels and timestamps for everything. Now, obviously, we need to start off by picking out your VR headset, and currently in 2025, there's only a few obvious answers. For the majority, it's going to be the Quest 3 or Quest 3S, simply because it's one of the cheapest ways to get into VR. It's more than adequate for the average user, and it also happens to be the most versatile piece of VR hardware. It's ideal for mobile gaming, but don't confuse that with cell phone gaming, as Meta has created a robust, high-budget series of titles like Batman Arkham Shadow and Asgard's Wrath 2. Now, this headset also pairs quite well with PCVR, a topic that I'll get back to later. And finally, it also functions like a media center, allowing you to watch movies and even use things like Game Pass. So for the vast majority of people, the best headset to pick up right now is a Quest 3S, or if money isn't really an issue, go with a Quest 3. Now, if you have zero interest in those extra bells and whistles or mobile gaming, and you just want the highest quality AAA style titles, well then you might want to consider the PlayStation VR 2. Now, I'm pretty sure I just absolutely shocked some of my VR community by recommending the PlayStation VR 2. Most people assume that I just hate this headset, and that is not the case. I've said it many times before. It has some of the best exclusives. It's also very solid hardware. You get things like head haptics and eye tracking, OLED display with HDR, and adaptive triggers. Those are features you really don't get anywhere else. The price is really good right now because it's come down multiple times because, PlayStation's just trying to get rid of the extras that they have. And a lot of people are selling them online, so you get used ones for even cheaper. So basically, if you already own a PlayStation 5, cannot live without those games like Resident Evil and Horizon, and overall graphical fidelity is your top priority, then yes, you should definitely consider picking up the PlayStation VR 2. Just don't expect any more Sony exclusives in the future. Now, this headset does technically also work with PCVR, but again, I'm going to come back to that topic later in the video. But staying on the topic of PCVR, there are some extremist level headsets, like $2,000+ headsets out there with crazy 4K per eye, micro OLED displays, HDR, you name it, all the bells and whistles, Wi-Fi 7, DST surround sound. I'm pretty much naming the play for Dream. But after owning 26 different headsets at this point, I think that number's right, I rarely have a good experience with those super high-end headsets. When you pay that much, I usually expect not only just a premium, but I want convenience. And these headsets usually, they're much more niche. They have a lot more software issues. Sometimes they don't connect to the PC as well. Their streaming software doesn't work. You got to go to third party this and that, and whatever the case may be. So it gets very frustrating trying to use these headsets, especially after you've spent so much money. That being said, though, if you are an enthusiast, you love a certain aspect, like you are a VR sim pilot, like you really like the flight sim games or driving games, something like that, then maybe, just maybe, something like a Pico or the Play for Dream could be ideal in these scenarios where you get the best quality graphics and, you're tethered to the machine with Pico. You don't have any latency, you don't have any bandwidth limitations because you're cabled, you don't want to be wireless, you're just sitting in a chair. So there are some rare cases where I could recommend the headset, but not for the average person. It's like a 1%er thing, both in price and niche use case. But now I want to briefly go over some general tips for everyone. Lots of newer headsets are good at pointing this out, or it's not even an issue if your headset has eye tracking. But the first thing you really want to do is dial in your IPD, because not only will you get the best clarity, it'll also help prevent eye fatigue. The PlayStation VR 2 does this automatically. The Quest 3 has a 3-step position. And finally, the Quest 3 has a rocker knob with a large range of different IPDs. show you how to measure your IPD. Basically, take a picture of yourself. Some work, some don't. The old school method is taking a tape measure and using the mirror and your eyes. But honestly, you could put on your headset, adjust the IPD, and kind of feel what is the perfect spot. But it's good to have an actual measurement. I was off by like 2 degrees for a long time. And again, the Quest 3S doesn't have every single value. They only have a low end, a middle, and a high value. So try and find what's best for you. And again, if you have eye tracking, you don't need to do that. Now, another important aspect comes to clarity. After your IPD is set correctly, you might put on the headset and things will look blurry. Now, if you're new to VR, you might not notice this right away. So you might play, be overwhelmed, and then like a week later be like, hey, things are blurry. Now, I see this a lot, primarily in one eye, because I have one eye that's better than the other, and it really comes down to positioning. So if you have blurriness and you can't read text, or things towards the bottom of the screen or the top of the screen don't look quite right, this is how I recommend you find the best spot. Take your headset like normal. You don't have to put the strap on for right now. Have it running a game, maybe something with text, and put it against your face like so, and kind of press, get it in pretty good, and then just make small increments up, down, left, right. And when you finally find the spot where it's clear, that's when you lock in your headset. Now, depending on the strap you have, it's going to be different. But this method has worked for me, and I still have to do this pretty often with the PlayStation VR 2. I have troubles keeping both eyes in what's called the sweet spot. Some headsets have a sweet spot where if your eyes aren't exactly lined up, things are blurry. The Quest 3 is actually pretty good. Wide, sweet spot. Quest 3S, smaller. PlayStation VR 2, not so great in my opinion, but we have different shaped heads. Our bodies respond differently. Regardless, that's the situation. That's how I found to rectify it with any headset I use. And finally, the last thing is comfort. As you see, I have an Elite strap here. I'll get back to the Elite strap later, but anything to make the headset more comfortable for you is extremely important, because you're not going to play if you put this on and it's uncomfortable. And if you do have a Quest 3 or 3S, they come with that default strap, which for a lot of people is not comfortable or sturdy enough. I do recommend something like this, an Elite strap, official one from Meta. I personally use Bobo for years, but there's great ones out there. But again, we'll get back to accessories. But comfort. If you're noticing that you are losing clarity because the headset's dropping a little bit too low, some headsets you might want to use a little counterweight on the back. There's lots of different, little tweaks out there. Personally, I love the plush material on the back of my head and the top of my head. That really helps for me, but comfort is subjective, so you're gonna have to figure it out yourself. Just know there are options out there. Not as many for the PlayStation VR 2, and personally, I found the PlayStation VR 2 comfortable out of the box. Sometimes the plastic digs into me a little bit, but it's a very light headset, so that one doesn't really bother me. Just it comes down to your head size, shape, whatever bothers you, doesn't bother you. These are very subjective things. We picked the headset, we're happy with it, we have it all set up, we're enjoying our games, but now we just want to up the ante. We want things to be even better. We want the accessories for maximum immersion. Now, if you don't have money to spend, you should probably just skip this topic, because the accessories actually get more expensive than the headset itself. There's things like haptic vests, which I thoroughly enjoy, but they're hard to justify their multiple $100 price tag. Now, don't get me wrong, the Bhaptics vest is a very solid device, and at this point, it has a ton of compatibility. It even works with the native Quest 3 and Quest 3S, PCVR, and even some PlayStation VR 2. Support is honestly best on PCVR, and then followed by the Quest. But again, remember this works for both mobile and PCVR gaming. So if you have that set up, it's something to consider. But again, you're going to spend a few $100s to actually feel vibrations of where you got hit. And at the same time, the support, even though it is widely supported, is hit or miss. Some games just feel much better than others. It adds the immersion. I love it. If I have the choice to use it, I'm going to use it. But to tell you guys to spend a few $100 is a little tough. Now, another VR accessory that's at the same point is the RotoVR. This is a chair. I have it. I love it. I do still use it quite often, mainly because I get tired for long stints of VR gaming. if I'm going to be standing, running around. If I'm playing something that's just a shooter where I don't need to be physically active, punching, swinging like crazy, I will take out the RotoVR chair. I will sit down, and what the chair does is it rotates you. It has a little dongle that sits on the top. When you turn your head, it turns the chair. Surprisingly, it's not loud. It feels, quite well. It's not nausea inducing. In fact, it does the opposite. If you're someone who gets nauseous in VR, this can help with motion sickness. And it just turns you around. Like I said, not loud, smooth. And there's like no real setup. It really is just put that dongle on your headset, turn it on, turn on the chair, sync them, and go. It also has a butt kicker, which I rarely ever use. It's just a little extra rumble. Now, if it was cheap, I would say hands down get it, especially if you don't like standing up playing VR or you have a little motion sickness. But it's an expensive chair. So again, hard to recommend. And the same goes for the Yaw VR, and that one is even more niche. Like I had a Yaw VR and I never used it because I'm not into sim games. I don't do a lot of racing. I don't do flight sim games. But if you are into those games, I would go check out the Yaw VR and see if the game that you love, your favorite game, is supported and you got money to burn. Then there's nothing else like it. Let me tell you, I was playing Star Wars Squadrons in the Yaw VR chair. That thing was throwing me around. It's shaking when I get hit. And that was not a natively supported game. Like I did some tricks of the trade to get it working. That's another thing you have to consider. That's not super easy to set up, and you're gonna have to do mods, and sometimes games break it. But if it has your like one favorite game, it's a flight sim or a racing game, it could be pretty amazing. Nothing like it. You have haptic feedback everywhere. You got the right headset. You're super happy. But there's a few more things you probably want to look into, and many of them get platform specific. So let's start off with PCVR, the recommended hardware that you want inside of your system, and what you should do for wireless streaming, because I'm sure a lot of you are interested in that. Because, I mean, you have the option. You most likely picked up a Quest 3 or 3S because they're the cheapest headsets. And since you could do wireless streaming and it actually works just as good, if not sometimes better than wired streaming, why the hell not? So, but first, let's just do those PCVR specs. Now, recommending PC hardware can be quite hard because the budgetary range is just insane. You could start at $700 and go all the way up to $7,000. Listen, I know we would all love RTX 5090s in our system and the latest AMD 9800 X3D or even the latest Intel CPU. I know that's what we'd want, but no one's ready to spend $5-6 grand. So a reasonable system that if I was on a not insane budget, but pretty tight budget, maybe $1,200 for buying a pre-built, or maybe you're brave and know a little bit more about PC building, you could do a little bit better, but say around $1,000 to $1,200. What you want to get is at least 16 gigs of RAM. I would say an RTX 4060 or greater. Sometimes you get a 5060 in there for that. But you also want to look for a GPU that has more VRAM in it. Some of these cards are only still giving 8 gigs. I would go for more than that and go with a fairly modern processor. I know that's a very broad answer. I didn't give you too many specs there, but this could be an entire video in itself. So once you have a decent system, you can't go too low end. You don't need to go max because no one is making VR games, designed for an RTX 5090. Half-Life Alyx, which is still one of the best looking VR games, runs on a 2060. It does. It really does. And it runs fine, which sounds insane. I don't know how they did it. It's black magic. But now that you have your PC and you want to get into wireless streaming, the first thing you're going to do is wire the PC to the router with an Ethernet cable. You don't want Wi-Fi on your PC because then it'll be Wi-Fi from your PC to your router to whatever headset you're using, most likely a Quest, because not a lot of them have wireless functionality. So wire the PC up to the router, and then you want a decent router. Now, the one I use, which I find to be amazing, is the Eero 7. I've been using that. It's not a cheap router, but it's got Wi-Fi 7. It's, it has all the Wi-Fi spectrums and ranges and signals. So old devices are fine. Newer devices that have Wi-Fi 7 are great. Now, I actually use an Eero 7 router. That's the only one I've really tested, and it works amazing. Like, I don't really need to go into detail. The bandwidth on it is insane. I can actually Wi-Fi game stream. I don't have to be in this room. Ideally, you want to be as close to the router as possible. I could be a flight upstairs and across my house, and I still get a very solid connection and have a good VR gaming experience, which is pretty insane. Now, the other two that I hear people talk about pretty often, but I don't have personal experience with, are the Prism XR, it's the Pupus S1, and there's a TP-Link Tri-Band. I think the B1900 or 19,000. That's a model I've seen. I actually saw that in use at AWE for the Play for Dream. I'm pretty sure that's the model they were using. Mind you, whenever you go to an event, there's so much interference and normally connections are horrible. They were using this and it ran flawless. So the router can make a big difference, but only upgrade your router if you feel the need. It's not something you need out of the box. If you have a router provided by an ISP, I would start by saying, hey, can you send me the latest model? That's where you start and see how your experience goes. And older model routers that I had worked fine. Just this one works way better. So that's your setup. Now, the other part of the setup is software. And there's 3 different options. If you're on the Quest, you have AirLink. That's Meta's own software, and it's hit or miss for people. One day it works. The next day there's an update and it stops working. Now, a lot of this comes down to the different hardware. There's a million different types of hardware that could be in your system, or an infinite amount of hardware. So it depends on the GPU, the processor, a million different things can alter your experience. I would say personally start with AirLink, or what I use the most is Steam Link. It's an app on the Quest. You just download it. It will connect to your Steam. That's if you want to play Steam games. For me, it always works perfect. I don't get any artifacting. I don't get, much latency at all. It's ideal. There are some games that for whatever reason don't want to work with it. I'll jump back to AirLink. Or if you want to really dial in the settings, get the best experience, or you're having a ton of issues with both Steam Link and AirLink, so you need something that has more settings, more options for you to control, then pay the $20 for Virtual Desktop. It's an official app, free for your PC, paid on the Quest. It's also on other headsets like the Play for Dream, like Pico, ton of other headsets out there. It's the most versatile streaming app, and it offers up features you don't get from the other two. Like you could also connect to your PC and use your PC remotely. So Virtual Desktop, very solid. Stretching a little bit because AirLink has that functionality too, but it's just eh. So you got your streaming setup and your software setup, but now we're going to dive down a little bit deeper into console or platform specific things that I recommend to up your game. Now, starting with the Meta Quest, if you are using this headset and only this headset, you don't have PCVR, and you're just not happy with the graphical quality you're getting, well then you could check out an app called the Quest Optimizer. This allows you to change the resolution that games are running in, pushing past the settings that the developers have put in place. Now, generally, those settings are there for the best combination of graphical fidelity, battery life, and stability. So to give you a random example, say you're playing something like Batman Arkham Shadow. You think it looks good, but it really should look better. Right now, if you played it, it's at their resolution that they set it at. You cannot modify it. And maybe you'll get like 90 minutes of battery time, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but you get around 90 minutes and the game doesn't stutter at all. They made sure the performance is good. The game doesn't stutter. Well, you turn on Quest Optimizer, you could crank those settings, like go play Batman in 4K. Maybe your battery only lasts 50 minutes and maybe you get a bunch of stuttering. But some people are willing to make that trade-off because they have a battery pack and an occasional stutter doesn't break the game for them. However, if you're someone who, gets nauseous, you don't want your game stuttering, or you don't have a battery pack, you don't want just, 40 to 50 minutes of playtime. So it's an option out there. Some people love it. My experience with it is hit and miss, like everything else. Now there's 2 other applications I highly recommend for the Meta Quest, especially if you plan on doing any type of content creation. The first is the Meta Quest Developer Hub. Now, as the name states, this is designed for developers, but it also has the best options for capturing footage. Just keep in mind this does require a PC. Now, the second application that I recommend is SideQuest, and this is simply because it will allow you to install things that don't come from the Meta store. It also has some other handy features similar to the Quest Optimizer, and it's also an easy way to transfer files to a PC. And finally, let's wrap things up with the PlayStation VR 2. Now, there's not really any accessories or any I've tried that I love or think people need for this headset. It's pretty much out of the box, works pretty well. But like I said earlier, you can use this for PCVR. It's wired, you can't use it wirelessly, but it is wired and it is a very solid PCVR headset. So if you only care about PCVR, you hate Meta, this is a good option to get into the whole, both PlayStation 5, if you have one, and PCVR ecosystems. Two caveats. One, if you want to use it for PCVR, you have to buy an adapter. It's usually sold out, and some of the third-party ones work like crap, just to let you know. And number two, the controllers for the PlayStation VR 2 connect to your PC via Bluetooth, and tons of people have issues with that. Constant disconnections, it's a headache. So this is a Bluetooth adapter from TP-Link. I'll put the exact model down because I don't remember it off the top of my head, and it's not on the dongle. So I will put it in the description with a link if you guys need it, but this is something to look out for, because if you're having controller connection issues using the PlayStation VR 2 on PC, this is a lifesaver. It's super cheap. You plug it in USB on your PC, you shut off your other, Bluetooth connectivity that's there so you don't have conflicts, and you are good to go. Like I said, lifesaver. I don't need it on this PC. My Bluetooth works fine on this one, but my previous PC, I had to go buy this. That's why it's not plugged in. All right, guys, that was the tips and tricks and how to up your immersion and a basic guide and a lot of information. I really hope it helped you guys. I love VR. I want to see more people playing and enjoying this. I do tons of videos on game recommendations. So now that you're all set up, maybe go find out what games are right for you. I also want to hear your feedback. What did I miss in this video? What should I have covered more? What do you still have questions about? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed it, thumbs up. And as always, I'll see you guys on next time.